distinguished members and friends, good morning and welcome to the e-session on the current developments in the area of agriculture research in India. On behalf of the Merchant Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it is my pleasure to host the webinar, which we hope will prove to be beneficial to all of you. Friends, I will take this opportunity to briefly introduce our guest, Dr. Tilochan Mahapatra. Dr. Mahapatra is presently working as Secretary of the Department of Agriculture Research and Education and Director General of Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Prior to this, Dr. Mahapatra served as the Director of Indian Agriculture Research Institute and the Director of National Rice Research Institute. He has been recipient of several honors and awards recognizing his academic and research contributions. He has contributed significantly to the agriculture research and development of the country. We are aware that sector of agriculture is the backbone of the Indian economy. The latest PLFS means Periodic Labor Force Survey report of 12th August 2021 shows a sharp increase in the employment in agriculture from 42.5% of the total employment in the 2018-19 to 45.6% in 1920. We are also aware that National Statistical Office NSO launched PLFS in April 2017. The objective of PLFS is primarily twofold: to estimate the key employment and unemployment indicators. Published date being 9th September 2021. We are at this conclave have some areas of concern to look at, covering but not limiting to. India may likely become a member of the coveted club of 5 exporters of agro-commodities by shifting its focus on cultivation. Shift in focus from basic farming to more efficient, sustainable and precision farming. Crop diversity. Promoting uniformity in agri and allied products. Ramping up the value chain. In this background, agriculture sector assumes importance and policymakers do also attach special significance to it in the country's overall development trajectory. Serious efforts are being made continually and adequate resources are also being deployed for its promotion and development. It is worthwhile to note that all of the requirements, the most fundamental component in the whole area is research and critical analysis of the knowledge derived from the ground experiences as well as from the farmers who constitute the repository of knowledge. Convergence and integration of acquired knowledge with improved technology and dissemination thereof to the agricultural sector on the ground, I believe can lead us to a new horizon of agriculture growth, as well as motivate those who are engaged in the sector of reaping the benefits of new knowledge. We are the view that this is the crucial area where widely acclaimed agencies and bodies like the Department of Agriculture, Research and Education, that is DARE, and Indian Council of Agriculture Research, that is ICIAR, have a vital role to play for the sustainable growth of the Indian economy. These two big public sector institutions are also in an inviable position to interact with the overseas counterparts, that is UN Consultative Group on International Agriculture Research, CGIAR, and other multilateral agencies for cooperation in various areas of agriculture research. The Chamber feels privileged to associate itself with these two prestigious institutions and look forward to closer interaction in the coming days and deeper engagement in the sector of agriculture research in Eastern India. It goes without saying that nation is indebted to the scientists and researchers of these institutions who have been at the service of the nation over the decades and making pioneering and path-breaking achievements in these areas towards accelerating the process of development in the field of agriculture. In this context, I'd like to focus on the another area of emerging importance, that is organic farming. We have to explore the area more intensely and ascertain how best we can derive maximum benefit from this sector to countries' development by deploying newest technology. Our agriculture scientists are second to none in the terms of discovering new areas of knowledge. We do hope they are already working in this area. Still, I felt I should bring it into the sharper focus to help us know more about the new innovations and researches being undertaken by the premier institutions. We are grateful to have with us Dr. Tilochan Mahapatra, who has kindly agreed to join us today for this seminar. We look forward to hearing from Dr. Mahapatra about the new developments in the Indian agriculture sector and what the future holds for us. Now, I invite Dr. Mahapatra to enlighten all of us on the whole spectrum of current development in the sector, as also the future prospects in the area from regional and national perspective that will make value addition to our agricultural growth on a sustainable basis. Thank you. Over to Dr. Mahapatra. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving a perspective already on Indian agriculture, highlighting some of the key areas where the country currently is emphasizing on. I would expand on some of those areas and also add on a few others to highlight how things are in the current state. What is that we are doing very briefly, and what needs to be really done in years to come. Agriculture is doing well. You have pointed out one aspect, that how many it engages and how important the sector is for providing not only engagement, but also the livelihood security to a large section of our population. You all know that agriculture is not just a job for the farmers to be engaged in, but more importantly, agriculture generates resources, and those resources are the fuel for driving many things. The whole human population, the animal population, and even the living system, which are thriving on this soil, they all depend on directly, indirectly on agriculture. We don't realize how important and how clear that is. And another aspect is, which has currently emerged, the production of biofuel from the agricultural produce. So that's another arena which is again crucial, and I'll highlight very few points at the end. So agriculture is important. Despite COVID, when all other sectors were struggling and encountered negative growth, agriculture performed fairly well. Thanks to the toiling farmers, they didn't bother so much for the COVID. They worked without any disruption, very little disruption rather. And in the process, the kind of production that we have achieved is all-time high. It's a record production. Last year, it was 310 million tons of food grains. And this time, the second estimate has come, advanced estimate, and it says about 316 million tons.
316.
So 316 million tons of food grains. So this is, and there are other sectors. And if I have to give a comparison, how we have grown, 1950, 51, and today, if we compare, our food grain production has gone up by more than 6 times. Even pulses, more than 3 times. Oil seeds, 6 times. Milk, almost 12 times. Fish, 18 times. Egg, 63 times. And if we compare even cotton, 12 times. Sugarcane, 7 times. And horticultural produce, if we compare the base level 92, and that's what the data is available. So more than 3 times, 3.4 to 3.5 times. So when I say times, that's the, that many 100% growth. And that is what over a period of, 60, 70 years. And 70 years is a long period. 7 decades is a long period. But if we see the decadal growth, and we see that we have been continuously improving in the decades over previous decades. Every decade we have done, and that's analysis we did for major food grains. And we do see that our rate of growth in terms of potential, yield, rather has increased in every decade over the previous decade. And that is how we are able to feed this 1.3 billion plus population as compared to the bad state of affair we were in 1950s and 60s, and particularly in 60s when we were borrowing and begging to feed this huge population. So we are in a very comfortable position. We are able to feed. Not only that, the amount of buffer stock that we have and we have created over a period of time is enabling supply of free food to more than 80 crore people during COVID times for several months. And that shows that social responsibility of the government could be fulfilled, addressed because of these developments. And there is no substantial increase in area, rather it is declining. In certain years, you'll find area goes down, and there is, in fact, diversion of agricultural land for other purposes. The intensity of cultivation is increasing in certain regions where, irrigation water is available, and the productivity gain is very, very significant. And that's the reason why, despite area decline, say in case of millets, we are able to keep pace with the requirements of the country. And in certain instances, we are exporting. And during COVID, and during past 6-7 years, if you analyze, see the growth more than 3%, 3.5%, 3.8% in 1 year. For instance, in fact, 4.5% in 2018-19, and 4% during 2019-20. So more than 4% growth and 4.85% growth, and average obviously more than 3% growth. And you do not see that in many countries of the world. And, also that kind of growth maintaining more than 2% growth for 70 years, since 1950-51. It's not easy. So year to year, there would be variation because of certain fluctuations in various factors, particularly monsoon, because close to 50% of our area is rain-fed. So there would be certain influences of the weather and climate. But despite all that, we have been doing fairly well and very well rather during past 6-7 years. And our contribution to GDP increasing during COVID times and touching 20%, more than 20% contribution of agriculture to GDP. And that is something which is, very, very significant. And over 17, 18 years, this is, very significant observation and achievement. Not that we are only producing for our own consumption. That's true. We are able to feed this huge population, but very importantly, we are exporting. And that's what you mentioned, Lalitji, in the beginning. And we are exporting. And during COVID times, our export, for instance, 2020, during 2020 and 21, our export touched 41.8 billion dollar mark.
Wow.
That's very, very significant. And not only that we produced, we also exported. And we also import. There are, for instance, edible oil we are still importing. That is one area of concern, a major concern. And there are also few other items, and though they are small imports, but still they add on. And we do import, and it's more than around 22 billion US dollar. But during 2021, if you see that we are surplus, and that is 19 billion US dollar, we are exporting more than what we are importing. And so that indicates that we have not only our granaries are full, overflowing, and we have at times problems of plenty, and we are able to export and earn to address other needs of the country in the process. And very importantly, we export items, traditional export. You all know what all we are exporting. But even we are entering into some of the items. For instance, we used to import, we still continue to import floriculture flowers from outside. But, during 2021, almost 1,500 crore worth of export we did even for flowers. And similarly, for, in fact, fresh fruits and vegetables. Now we have started exporting in past few years, and it's increasing. And almost, 1,100 crores, we exported, fresh fruits and vegetables, during this year. It's 11,000 crores, not 1,100 crores. 11,000 crores, so we exported for fresh fruits and vegetables. So the traditional export, for instance, in case of animal products, the buffalo meat particularly, and to the tune of 27,000 crores. So animal products we are also exporting, and cereals, particularly rice. And we were below less than 50,000 crores and crossing in 2021, 70,000 crores mark. And that was remarkable. Despite COVID, export increased, and the demands also were there in the global market. And we could capitalize on this and enhanced our export even for rice, and particularly, rice. And that was a total cereal export, and the rice export is also increasing. And very importantly, we exported wheat to the tune of 6,000 crores, and we have now total targeted export during this year would be about 10,000 crores wheat export. So these are some of the areas where we have actually done fairly well, and that's what I would say that the government schemes, government support, and plans and programs of the government, not only just increasing MSP, but in fact creating infrastructure funds and supporting farmers who are highly vulnerable by way of crop insurance and many others, and marketplace for selling, particularly the e-marketplace, and so on and so forth. So irrigation support, particularly micro irrigation, which is growing. So various ways government has supported. But at the same time, the important contribution of research to provide the required technology. I'll highlight one example that our export of basmati was about 30,000 crores during this period. So, and variety Pusa Basmati 1121 and contributes almost, earlier it used to contribute 80% of our export, and now at least 35% of our export is based on this single variety. In fact, two varieties, Pusa Basmati 1121 and Pusa Basmati 1509 together contribute to more than 50% of our export. Why these varieties? Because they are the longest grains after cooking, more than 2 centimeter long grains after cooking. And they are liked by, the international consumers wherever they are preferred, and markets are created. And that is how we have been able to really capture those consumer preferences globally and able to do that. So here is a disruptive innovation in the form of the cooked kernel length, which goes up to rather beyond 20 millimeters, so 2 centimeter. And in the process, along with the other traits of basmati quality, and in the process, one captures the consumer preferences and the market in the process. And we have more of export happening for this. And we were, not really able to export, but there are wheat varieties, the recent years, which have been developed and released. Very strategically, we have deployed these for rust resistance, the most devastating disease. We have 3 rust. You have stem, leaf, and brown, yellow, and black. There are 3 rusts. And so they impact these crops so significantly. And we have been able to very systematically identify the genes for resistance and deployed them in these crops. And the process sustained the yield growth in wheat. And that is how our production in wheat is also increasing. And we say that it will be more than 110 million ton wheat production. And this is primarily because of the yield growth, and because 30 million hectares is the area, and little bit variation year to year. But from this, continuously we are increasing in terms of productivity and production. So that's how our exports are being enabled. But what are the areas where this country need to really focus given the challenges? We have done fairly well. So I will highlight a few points and then finish it up, and without taking very long time. And how much time I have anyway?
Sir, no issue, sir. You can continue, sir. It's
okay.
Very informative, sir. Very
okay.
informative.
Okay. Let me point out two, three issues at this point, at this moment. One is that we were importing, and we still continue to import pulses. That's an area for concern. So in the year 1516 and 1617, we did a thorough planning at, how do we really address this issue of pulses deficiencies? And the government actually came in very strongly and enhanced not only the minimum support price, but also put procurement in place and created a buffer stock of 2 million tons. So that is one side of the story. And that certainly attracted farmers to go for cultivation of pulses in areas where they were not really promoted so much, in dry areas where irrigation is a serious limitation, but fed areas, but still the farmers came forward and used the varieties which are very suitable. So technology played its part. And more importantly, the variety replacement rate, the newer varieties, less than 10-year-old varieties went to the farmers where yield is comparatively higher as compared to the older varieties. So variety replacement increased significantly, more than 55%, newer varieties going to the field. Seed replacement rate, because which used to be in case of pulses around 5 to 10%, and that also increased substantially, in certain cases going beyond 30% and 40%. So farmers save seed, of course, it works for certain years, but then it deteriorates over a period of time, so yield declines. So seed replacement rate increased, the new variety replaced the older varieties, and we created 150 seed hubs with the government support. So in the Krishi Vigyan Kendra, the farm science centers, and where these seeds were made available easily to the farmers. So seed is the most crucial input. So in the process, we had a jump of, in the very fast year, jump of 6 million tons. And we have gone up to 9 million tons jump. And, this year we say that it would be almost 27 million tons of production.
Very good.
So as compared to 15, 16 million tons 7 years ago, where we are struggling. So you can see the imaginative power of the government and the systematic planning, and how that systematic planning and bringing schemes to support them helps. And then how we can mainstream the technology which is available, and in the process implement them and demonstrate technology. We demonstrated in thousands of hectares in the farmers' field that this technology, new varieties work, and farmers got attracted, and that is how there were adoptions. So in the first year, when 6 million tons jump was there, we analyzed how and why, and we found that about 3 million tons coming from the area expansion, because farmers were attracted, so area expansion took place, and about 3 million tons due to productivity increase. So productivity increase and area expansion happening, and we could, and now our import is reduced by more than 50%. Wow. More than 5 million tons we are importing, and it's less than 2.5 million tons. And in another few years' time, if you continue doing so, we should be able to completely replace, substitute, import. So, of course, in edible oil, planning is going on. We have gone for large scale, the oil palm as a mission, because palm oil we are importing. 60% of our import is palm oil, and we have scheme 11,000 crores is being invested. So area expansion is projected in the northeast, in the eastern part, particularly Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, and West Bengal even, and any state government who can come forward and they can really embrace this scheme and then promote oil palm cultivation, because oil palm gives maximum oil yield per hectare. And you will not get 5 to 6 tons of oil yield per hectare from any other crop, whether it is mustard or soybean or groundnut. They are all traditional oilseed crops. So they don't give so much of oil. In fact, the total seed yield in case of mustard is average is 1.5 tons per hectare. And even if we say that 40% oil, you can imagine what is the oil yield per hectare. So oil palm can give at least 2.5 tons per hectare of oil, oil per hectare, and then it can go up to 5-6 tons of oil per hectare. So, and farmers can benefit from this and their economic. And so that is government program which we are working with the Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and going to states, discussing with them and promoting. So that is another. But what I was trying to say and give an example of, government focus and science mainstream and how working together can bring in revolution. And we call improvement in pulses production as a pulses revolution in this country. So pulses revolution, 6 to 9 million tons of extra production by way of all these arrangements which are made, and implementing technology. The another revolution which has happened is the sugar revolution. We require about 25 million tons of sugar in this country. And in certain years, we were able to produce. In certain years, when there were drought, we were having lesser production, we were importing. And in certain years where more production was there, we were trying to export. So there was, over the year to year, there's a lot of variation, and we had difficulties. And our policies also changing because of deficiencies, because of sufficiencies and excess, and so on and so forth. For past 7 years, there has been a revolution in this country by way of implementation of a disruptive technology. It's a wonderful example of a research product going to the field and promoted large scale. And this is in the form of a variety. And this has been analyzed, documented so well in the country. And this is in the form of a variety called CO0238. And that is the variety which brought this revolution. How? In Uttar Pradesh, the yield was about 60 tons of sugarcane per hectare. And this variety gave 80 tons per hectare.
Oh, wow.
So average 20 tons of more yield under same management practices per hectare. So you can imagine how the farmer's income got increased. And you can imagine the other advantages, because there is plenty of material available, not only for sugar, but also for bioethanol, because you have, molasses, more molasses available, and these were diverted for producing bioethanol. And very importantly, sugar recovery in this variety was 2% more than what was there in the previous variety. The previous variety was also ours. The Indian Council of Agriculture Research developed those varieties. But this new variety had 2%, more sugar recovery, average. And in fact, certain mills in Uttar Pradesh recorded even 3% more sugar recovery than the older varieties. So in the process, our production of sugar increased from 25 million tons to 32 million tons. So 7 million tons in a jump in sugar production in the country, and making us an abundantly surplus nation with regard to sugar production. And we were in problem that what to do with this sugar. So because, in internationally, we are not very competitive with regard to price because of various reasons. I'll not go into that. And, you don't know better being in trade and all that. And, what price we are selling in this country, not that what is the factory price and how much a farmer realizes. And those are not taken into consideration to compare. But anyway, so to compare the price to be competitive in the global market. So anyway, so that's a different issue. So now, so we are self-sufficient. We are not importing past 6-7 years, and our production has increased to the tune of 7 to 8 million tons. And now, the decision by the government is that we can not only divert sugar in juice, even sugar. Not only molasses, but sugar and sugarcane juice for producing bioethanol. And that is how we are able to reach 8 to 9%, now about 9% blending of, of fossil fuel, particularly petrol with ethanol. And we are targeting by 2025, we should be reaching 20% mark. And it's a very tough target. Sugarcane alone may not be able to, provide that much of bioethanol. And but then one is depending on the extra grains that we are producing. The damaged grains, particularly rice and wheat grains, which are being stored in the granaries for longer period of time, or the broken ones, and those can be diverted. And in fact, of course, in US, maize is the main one, and which is being diverted for bioethanol production. And of course, about 40 million liters of that they are producing. And similarly, in case of billion liters, not million. And similarly, Brazil, which is second in terms of blending, almost 20% blending happening there. And hopefully we'll be reaching there. So this will be a renewable source of substituting the non-renewable source, that is, petrol. And if we can really do that in 2025, that would be a big action. So contribution of agriculture, research, a disruptive technology, bringing such a huge change in our energy sector. So agriculture for energy is another area which is emerging quite fast. And we have developed varieties of sorghum, which are called sweet sorghum, and they can be directly used for generating bioethanol. So 1G technology, and using those directly to produce bioethanol. And similarly, we have produced sorghum varieties with a very high biomass for 2G bioethanol production. So these are new varieties. Honorable Prime Minister, dedicated to the nation, 35 varieties with special traits. Herbicide tolerance is another trait, which is in case of rice. And the current focus is developing such varieties with special traits. So one aspect I highlighted, that how we are meeting and trying to meet the energy needs, and particularly the renewable source, replacing a non-renewable source of our petrol. And this effort would continue. But at the same time, what we are using is, emphasizing on is use of the micro irrigation system, so that our water footprint in sugarcane is also reduced, and producing drought tolerant and water use efficient varieties, so that water footprint is also reduced in case of sugarcane. And the chemical fertilizer use also is reduced in sugarcane. So while meeting the energy needs, we should not be forgetting all these requirements of the country. And I highlighted another current emphasis on research, that is producing herbicide-tolerant crops without resorting to even GM technology. So by using a chemical called ethyl methane sulfonate, we induced herbicide tolerance in case of rice. And this variety which was used was a traditional variety, Nagina 22. In fact, I initiated this work before coming over to this place. And this herbicide tolerant genotype is now being used as a donor to various kind of high yielding background, so that we have herbicide tolerant rice. Why it is so? Because we need to reduce water footprint in case of rice. 2,000 to 5,000 liters is consumed in case of rice to produce 1 kg of rice. So we need to really reduce less than 1,000 or 1,500 maximum. That's the liters rice should consume. And one of the ways to do that is direct seeding of rice without going for a puddling. And if we can seed rice directly on the field and with minimum tillage or no tillage after the previous crop, and once the crop is harvested, you don't go for any tillage, but seed the crop of rice and then grow rice aerobically as it is done in case of wheat. And that's direct seeding of rice. And when that is direct seeding, there will be a lot of weeds, and weed control can be done by weedicides. And if we have herbicide tolerant crop and a variety, then one can spray the weedicide when this crop is still standing, and then one can address this problem of weeds in direct seeded rice, where you save on water and very significantly. So direct seeding and use crop residue as a mulch and controlling weeds by way of weedicide. And this is the way rice can be cultivated without compromising yield, and in the process saving on water, and in the process saving on soil properties and fertility, and in the process going for a sustainable production system, sustainable rice production system and food production system. And that's the objective, and that's the current focus, that water footprint is reduced significantly in our production system. Sugarcane, I gave example. Rice, I gave example. And that is how we are actually working more and more and defining and designing more and more of fertigation and drip irrigation systems for crops. How much fertilizer, how much watering, how many times watering, at what point of time watering, subsurface irrigation systems. If you can lay down the pipes once for a few years, you can continue working and tilling and or without tillage, and then providing irrigation at the root zones and without bothering every time. And in the process, saving water, 30 to 40% of water saving, about 30% of saving on chemical fertilizers. So that is another area, and standardizing crop after crop and cropping system after cropping system, so that the whole country can benefit in years to come. And we have built crop plans. 12 crop plans we have already prepared for the water guzzling crops, the areas where water is most limiting. So we should not really be going for water guzzling crops. And if we go for such crops, we have to have methods of controlling irrigation, as I said, with regard to aerobic rice or direct seeded rice in Punjab situation. So that crop plan should be implemented, should be accepted by the governments. And once that is done, an elaborate planning has happened, and we should be able to not only produce the amount that we require, we will be able to produce in the agroclimate where it best fits, where it is most suitable. And very importantly, produce the quality and which are exportable, because that's what is the requirement at the global market. That if you have quality produce, safe produce, food safety aspects are taken care and harvested at the right time and free from aflatoxin, for instance, and all that, and pesticides. And in the process, we should be able to really create more and more global markets and then sell our produce and earn more and more. So contributing to the $5 trillion economy of India by way of doubling our export. And that is our objective. And one district, one product. That's the focus given to this, production by Honorable Prime Minister, that not only per drop you produce more, save on water, but also you go for focusing on crops, commodities, where they are best suitable, most suitable, and produce them with appropriate quality considerations, and so that we are able to export. And the other importance of producing quality food is that not only you address the global market, even domestically you address malnutrition, because malnutrition is so widespread. I'm not going to those details of data, but you know where India stands with regard to global hunger index. So given that scenario, we need to really quickly address this particular problem. Past 7 years, we focused on developing new varieties of crops which are called biofortified. Earlier, we focused on enhancing yield, but that is not really enough. We produce more, but the quality aspect was not really cared for so much, because we are in rush to produce more and enhancing yield. But when we analyzed those, certainly there were deficiencies. For instance, the micronutrient deficiencies, which is causing hidden hunger, the iron deficiency, zinc deficiency, magnesium deficiency, and so on and so forth. And that's where we focused on. And we developed now almost 86 biofortified crop varieties. And slowly they are going to field, and they now occupy 4.5 million hectare area. And once they are going to the market, and we will be consuming such biofortified crop varieties, not only for micronutrients, but also for protein. For in case of rice, we have developed varieties which are having more than 10% protein, as compared to 6 to 7% protein or maximum 8% protein in normal crop varieties. So we have more than 10% protein now. And similarly, having vitamin, more provitamin A, so that the vitamin deficiencies are also addressed. And some of the negative factors, anti-nutritional factors in mustard, in soybean, they have also been eliminated. So in the process, we are creating more market. Soybean, for instance, because if you have a protease inhibitor there, which inhibits protein digestion, so the protein of soybean is very rich in protein. It cannot be really utilized and by human, very efficiently. Now, by eliminating that inhibitor of protein digestion, we are able to create varieties which are having, better digestibility of protein. So that kind of resource creates better opportunities and creates, markets, for the products. And similarly, we have created a high oleic, fatty acid groundnut. If you have more oleic acid, so you can have deep fry because it tolerates high heat. The shelf life also increases. The chocolate industry also prefers this kind of oil because there would not be rancidity happening quite fast. So in groundnut, we have been able to produce varieties which are having almost 80% oleic acid out of the total fatty acid, which you see there. So likewise, biofortification has been the key in last 5-6 years and producing these varieties. And, that is how we will be able to address malnutrition. And we are also enhancing crop diversification. And in the process, we would like to increase our food basket, diversify our food basket. Unless there is diversified production, there cannot be diversified consumption. So we are creating nutri gardens in schools, in Anganwadi workers. They are coming and taking training, and in their premises, they are creating these as examples. And we are bringing farmers and training them in our Krishi Vigyan Kendras, so that the concept of nutri gardens are implemented in their backyard, in the rooftop, in the balcony, in the form of hanging gardens. So that in the form of vertical gardens, and so that the nutritional requirements are made squarely and adequately by way of diversifying consumption. And we have given a concept of Nutri Thali, and that's the kind of area of our research that we are focusing on. Two more areas I will highlight and finish it up. The other is that reducing the chemical footprint in agriculture. So that's the important area. Honorable Prime Minister has given the call that if we can reduce 25%, 30%, or even 20% of chemical use in agriculture, And now recently has given a push to natural farming processes where we can have less of chemicals being utilized. How do you really do this? There are different ways to do, and we have developed organic farming practices, more than 60 of them for various crops and cropping systems. How much of organic matter can be applied to replace completely the chemical fertilizer? We have also developed integrated farming, integrated nutrient management practices where minimum chemical fertilizer should be used in addition to the organic fertilizers and biofertilizers. Recently, more than 30 biofertilizers we have developed, which are based on microbes, and they can be applied. And recent times, there is one report coming that if you have a free-living nitrogen-fixing organism like Azotobacter, and it can produce with a very high efficiency ammonia, which is produced by the fertilizer urea, and that ammonia producing bacteria can be multiplied large scale and provided in the rice field, for instance, so that the nitrogen requirement by way of application of fertilizer, chemical fertilizer, is reduced significantly. So biofertilizer, more than 30 of them in different combinations, and 25% reduction at least chemical fertilizer can happen by your pace. Similarly, when you go for organic farming or natural farming, you will find insect pests and diseases happening there. So we have more than, again, 40 biopesticides available with us. We have developed those, designed those, and commercialized those. And similarly, biocontrol agents. One microbial organism attacking another microbial organism or an insect, and in the process controlling them naturally. So if you have to multiply in the laboratory, release them large number at a particular threshold level, and after a particular threshold of the insect reaches, so it will be able to control that particular organism naturally. So biocontrol agent, for instance, trichoderma, for instance, a number of the organisms have been identified and recently, and we have a publication. You will find all these in our website. So biocontrol agents, biofertilizers, biopesticides, and all these should be able to help us in promoting, chemical-free or chemical, less, agriculture. So natural farming can be promoted in the process. And of course, this would require lots of organic matter, and we have to really generate those resources and utilize the crop waste and produce as much organic resource as possible. So that is what is actually happening at this point in time, and we would continue doing that, more intensively in years to come. Today is the era of precision agriculture. So digitalization of agriculture is very, very crucial. So what is that precisely is to be done? There are many entrepreneurs creating startups and delving into the arena of agriculture to provide support to the farmers. So what all is actually involved here? Producing as much required, producing in the right quantity and also quality. So right time, right quantity, right quality, and supplied, employing all the supply chain models and using blockchain technology. So your artificial intelligence is utilized in planning process and providing services to the farmers. And also at the same time, data analytics is utilized to provide support to the farmers, provide the decision support system and putting that in place appropriately. And in the process, helping farmers to produce adequately with minimization, rather optimum input cost. And the process giving more return to the farmers. So precision agriculture depends heavily on use of drones, for instance, and sensors, as well as automation. And the current focus of agriculture research is on this, that how do we actually have cheap drones in the country and cheap sensors in the country, and the technology also standardized for appropriate interpretation and the appropriate decision support system operating precisely so that farmers are guided properly, not misguided in the process. For instance, I'll cite one example that we have a system, and there are also startups which are in the working place now and working with farmers, that a farmer can take a photograph of the disease that the crop is suffering from and upload that particular photograph, and the company can provide guidance with regard to the identification of disease, and also providing support with regard to what is to be actually done, the appropriate measures to be taken. And this support in the form of a decision or guidance or recommendation provided by the agency, whether government or private or whatever, requires proper data available. Otherwise, it will give you erroneous recommendations. And that's the key, future of digital agriculture or precision agriculture to succeed. So if we build a database of that particular disease symptom and digital database, taking lakhs of samples and taking lakhs of photographs, at least a few thousand photographs, so that would provide sufficient data for comparison when a sample comes from the farmer. And in the process, data would support proper analytics, and then in the process, proper decision and proper recommendation. Otherwise, it might lead to erroneous recommendations. So that's what we are working on, and that's what we are focusing on. And similarly, use of sensors in knowing what is the time of application of irrigation water, and how much irrigation water to be applied, and how much fertilizer to be applied. The drones taking images continuously and regular intervals to say when to really apply fertilizers and how much of fertilizer in which area. And it can also spray accordingly and differentially after taking the image and after proper programming of the whole area to be sprayed by the drone. And similarly, various things which are happening in the form of agricultural research at this point in time. And this is the time of agricultural revolution. And the Food and Agriculture Organization has coined Agriculture 4.0 is happening at this point in time. Agricultural Revolution 4.0 is happening at this point in time. And we have to actually take advantage of all these developments and delve deeper inside, and then in the process, double the income of the farmers. Why double, triple, quadruple the income of the farmers? And that is what is actually the need of the hour. And we should be able to really do this. We are working with the farmers. We are training the farmers. More than 13, 14 lakh farmers we are training in a year through our Krishi Vigyan Kendra. And we are providing guidance to them on all aspects of agriculture. We are also imparting the right kind of agricultural education in the universities so that we build the agriculture human resource to handle future agriculture at the field level, at a research level, at the global level. We are working with the CGIAR organizations, as you rightly pointed out, and the 12 of those organizations are having a memorandum of understanding and agreements with us. We not only get resources from them, bioresources, we also talk out our common programs and define what is that this country needs, and also in the process get some of the work done in collaborative process. For instance, the ICRI-SAT, which is there in Hyderabad, and recently Honorable Prime Minister made a visit there on this occasion of celebration of 50 years of that particular institution. And we have developed varieties of chickpea which are tolerant to drought. After sequencing of the chickpea genome, we understood where are the genes and how those genes can be mobilized to our crop varieties, which are popular. And that's what we did. And mobilized some of those genes to chickpea variety, which are popular, and then made them drought tolerant. And with ICRI-SAT. And that is how we are capitalizing on our relationship, on our partnership with the international global established centers of excellence, and also training our own people there, and faculties there, and working together to succeed. So this country has many challenges, as I said, and while I was highlighting all these points, in every case, we are trying to meet the challenge of water scarcity in future, challenge of climate change in future, challenge of malnutrition in future, challenge of farmers' income, low income of the farmers in future, and also sustainability of the production system by way of actually making it more of organic, and also at the same time, keeping in mind that we have to really meet the goals, for instance, sustainable development goals. So sustainable food production system, not only in case of crops, but also animals. And we are trying to build, that kind of resources in animal systems. For instance, creating more of vaccines and diagnostics to address animal diseases. For instance, the vaccines for PPR, vaccines for foot and mouth disease, vaccines for brucellosis, which is also a zoonotic disease like COVID-19. It can move from animal to human. So brucellosis, and we have made vaccines for animals so that we are able to control the disease in animals by way of vaccination. And we are also doing seromonitoring, what extent vaccination is working. So making diagnostics and working. And we have so far, the Indian Council of Agriculture Research has made 25 different vaccines for different diseases of animals, and eradicated few diseases from the country. For instance, eradicated rinderpest disease in case of animals. So that effort is also going on elaborately, and we have cloned animals, and animal cloning is possible. And from some of the cells, even skin cells, we have been able to clone animals. The best bulls have been cloned to produce 7 different copies of the best bull. And similarly, the best cow has been cloned. And the cloned calves also have been cloned to multiply the number. The best bulls have been cloned to produce as much semen as it is required. And that effort is going on. And hopefully we should be able to really produce the bulls which are required. And the embryo transfer technology is also very successfully happening and being implemented. And in case of fishery sector, we are also supporting, augmenting blue revolution efforts by producing, diversifying aquaculture system. We are exporting, and 7 billion, and last year it was reduced because of COVID, about $5 billion we earned by way of exporting fish. And unless we are able to provide adequate science support in the management process for diversifying aquaculture, for health management, for feed system, provisioning, so we'll not be able to really have that kind of export enabled in this country. So that's where we are working on. We're working on seaweeds so that the farmers' income is increased, and we are producing a lot of pharmaceutical and compounds are there. We are identifying them and producing those molecules, and based on that, some of those nutraceuticals and pharmaceuticals, and licensing. So it's a whole activity which is going on, but ultimate objective is supporting farmers so that the small and marginal farmers of this country are empowered, their income is increased substantially, and we have sustainable production system. So we have agriculture for future. Our food systems are not threatened and are not really destroyed, but maintained, nourished for our future generations to take advantage of this, adequate advantage of this. And creating awareness is the biggest issue, because changing mindset is the toughest. For the farmers to adopt something new, or of the consumers to eat something like millets. International Year of Millets 2023, United Nations has accepted India's proposal, and we are promoting millets for consumption, for production, creating value chains, and that is what is actually required for this country. And we are going, international level, we are trying to create the demands so that we are able to export tomorrow. And we are also working with the best chefs of the country, of the best hotels, 5-star hotels. and so that they can create variety of dishes and convert our traditional dishes with very attractive dishes of the 5-star hotels, so that they can be consumed by as many consumers as possible, and so that poor farmers also benefit out of this. We are creating startups so that they support the farmers, the farmer producer organization, 10,000 of them, which are going to be there. So they are supported by startups. The value chain is created. Startups are producing and collecting and produce and processing and creating values. And by way of that, again, the consumption of millet is going to increase, hopefully, in years to come. So these are the kind of things happening. There are plenty of other things happening. I know I'll not really take more time. I have taken more than 1 hour now. So I will stop here. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And we are alive to the challenges of this country in the agriculture sector, and will continue striving hard to meet the aspirations of our people. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. So nice of you, sir.
Now, Sureshji will deliver the vote of thanks.
Yeah, it's a wonderful speech, sir. It's wonderful and very, very huge, exhaustive knowledge we have gained from your speech, sir. Exhaustive knowledge. Before, sir, our council, our chairman, Mr. Sureshji, will give the vote of thanks to you. Just I want to add that, sir, we want a 3-day conference minimum seminar in Calcutta, so that with the help of your office, so that all our members who are associated with the agriculture, farming, and lots of activities associated with that, and they can know the better farming procedures, technology, your drone technology, which you have now told before that, it's very impressive. We have just heard, first time I have heard that drone technology already in there, and more your organic farming technology, hydroponic technology, we have heard about that in past also, and palm oil, whether it can be, what are the product which we can produce in West Bengal or the eastern region based upon the land, agriculture, weather conditions, so that we can, our farmers, our agriculture, our traders which are indulged in these activities can gain more and more profit and value added to the nations also, sir. So we want 3-day seminars with the help of your office. We will send you the letter and require your more help in that region, sir. Over to Mr. Sureshji, please.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. It was a very amazing. Before I could start my vote of thanks, it is really an eye-opener, and congratulations, sir, for all your hard work.